Okay. This special meeting of the Judson Board of Trustees is hereby called to order at 5:31 p.m. I am very pleased that you have taken the time to join us this evening. In compliance with the State Government Code on Open Meetings, tonight's agenda has been appropriately posted. These proceedings are being video and audio recorded and will become part of Judson's permanent legal record. In order that the tape adequately reflects these proceedings, please silence your mobile devices and refrain from talking while others are speaking. Once again, I extend to each of you a sincere welcome from the entire school board. Thank you for your interest in Judson ISD. We have established a quorum, and I will call roll. Okay, you can mark your attendance. Laura? Oh, you want to do it one more time? Oh, there. Oh, there we go. You're good. Oh, okay. Okay, and we have 6 members present, and Mr. Macias is stuck in traffic and will be here shortly, and we'll mark him present when he arrives. So, okay, the next item on our agenda is the public comment period. This is a time for citizens, staff, parents, or students to provide their comments to the board. A meeting that is open to the public under the Act is one that the public is entitled to attend. However, the Act does not give the public a right to speak at such public meetings except through the proper channels. Before we begin, I will remind our audience members of the board's procedures for handling public comment. Anyone who wanted to speak during the public comment portion of this meeting was required to sign up prior to the start of the meeting. Each public comment speaker will be allowed to speak a maximum of 3 minutes. Yielding of time to other speakers is not permitted. As this is a special meeting, comments are only allowed on posted agenda items. Speakers need to keep their comments civil and courteous and avoid using profanity. Speakers will not be allowed to discuss students who are not their own. While speakers may criticize any act, omission, policy, procedure, program, or service of the board, personal attacks or complaints about individuals will not be allowed. If you have a specific complaint against an individual, I'm required to stop you and direct you to seek resolution through the district grievance processes: DGB-A for employee complaints, FNG for parent or student complaints, and GF for community complaints. Grievance forms can be obtained at any campus administration office or in the central administration offices. With those thoughts in mind, our first public comment speaker will be Mr. Evans. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hello to everybody on the board. This is probably the quickest I've been up here, so thank you guys for being here. Thank you for letting me be up here and speak in front of you guys, and God bless everybody as I start. I want to talk about just as we look into the legal services and the topic that is at hand today. I just want to talk about the leadership as we look into those legal services and, what our leaders should look for when looking into these legal services. And whatever that may entail, I do know that leadership is not about the title on your door or the authority in your hands. It's about the integrity and the leadership of this board, and leadership that sometimes I think is lacking. Not sometimes, but a lot of times. Leadership, by definition, is the art of motivating a community toward a common goal, yet you have used it somehow for a tool of division. Being a leader means that the people that choose to follow you, they choose to follow you because they trust your vision and respect your character. True leadership is defined by humility to shoulder the blame when things go wrong, and the grace to deflect the credit to the team when things go right. In the movie Remember the Titans, it was famously quoted, "Attitude reflects leadership." And if that's the case, the toxic environment currently suffocating this district is a direct reflection of the leadership. And we expect you to do better. T.D. Jakes once said that leadership is not about the size of your office, but the size of your heart and the depth of your character. By that metric, some of your offices are empty rooms. While you sit insulated by a false sense of self-importance, the reality on the ground is that you'll become a liability to this district's progress. You might mistake the silence of your offices for peace, but let me shatter that delusion. I stood and spoken to several employees, the very same people who have kept this district alive, and they scoff at the mere mention of some of your names. You're not respected, but endured. Your leadership is a punchline. Furthermore, the leadership requires the discipline to focus on the work that matters. The time wasted bickering in the comment section of Facebook posts is time that should be spent improving this district. A real leader has enough self-control to take the temperature of the community and enough discipline to stay above the fray. If you cannot stop chasing your own clout and shadow on social media, then you have no business leading the children of this community. The families of this district are done being the collateral damage. Parents are fleeing to charter schools, neighboring districts, and seeking any environment that is not tainted by this leadership. They aren't leaving because of the curriculum, they're leaving because of this leadership. And to be perfectly clear, I know some of you guys on this board are a master manipulator and a habitual liar too, and I'll let you figure out the rest of that line. Do not mistake the community's patience for weakness. There is a petition with over 1,500 signatures asking for a resignation. The TEA has received formal complaints as well. And unlike the voices you tried to silence and intimidate, you do not intimidate me. You are no longer leaders, you're a liability.
Mr. Evans, I'm sorry, your 3 minutes is up, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our public comment session. All right, we'll move on to, I'm sorry, and I marked Mr. Macias, I saw you in the back at 5:35. Welcome, sir. We'll move on to discussion, consideration of action items. 3A, I will turn that over to either Mrs. Potteet or Mrs. Lee.
Actually, if it's all right, can I just read the motion and then we can discuss after?
Go ahead.
Okay. I move that we designated JCA Law PLC to serve as interim board counsel to handle all board legal matters, including but not limited to handling all board members' phone calls and attending board meetings in closed session, effective immediately, and further designate JCA Law PLLC to assist the administration with legal matters as determined by the administration as needed. And finally, move that Walsh Gallegos be designated as interim legal counsel for the administration to assist with legal matters as needed and determined by the interim superintendent.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mrs. Potteet and a second by Mrs. Lee. Do you have discussion of it also? Okay, all right, I'll open the floor then for discussion, if you want to push your button. Okay, seeing no I'm sorry, Ms. Stanford, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, could you clarify the interim position for Walsh Gallegos? Does that mean they're going to continue till a certain time frame, or?
They'll continue until the interim superintendent decides what they would like to do with them. There's not going to be any kind of definitive end date or anything in that regards. It's going to just be up to the superintendent.
Oh, so in other words, we're just saying we're looking to replace the board attorney, not district attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, board would be something else. Okay, I mean, district would be a different motion, different person. Well, I would just say that one thing that's very important to me is objectivity. And I have heard that some law firms lean toward the majority, some don't, and that would be my main concern, is that there's a leaning toward the majority. And I can understand the proclivity for that. But I will say Walsh has been very good about being very even-handed and fair-minded with every person on this board. And that's what I think is invaluable, and I don't want to lose that. And I have some concerns there. So I'll yield to someone else.
Ms. Canoyer?
I'd like to know the reasons you have for changing counsel right now.
That's up to you, Mrs. Potteet, if you want to answer, or,
Ms. Potteet and Ms. Lee, I'd like to hear your rationale.
yeah, that's up to you guys if you would like to answer that or not.
Yeah, I could answer my own. This is my own. I was just really disappointed.
Is there a microphone on?
Oh,
Sorry,
I
microphone.
think, yeah, it's green.
Okay. I couldn't see your,
It's just that I'm really just disappointed that every time, on closed session, that we have our legal counsel present there, but it seems like the next day, when there's some, other colleagues, like, claiming that it wasn't discussed, but it's there to discuss, really. So if they are really representing the whole board, like each of us, not really biased, then they are present there. Then how come they wouldn't say or, tell the information right when they are present on that closed session? So that's my concern.
And for me, it's pretty simple. I'm not satisfied with the service we're getting from Walsh Gallegos.
Can you give me an example of something you're not satisfied with?
No.
So this is, seems to be very personal about why you want this and not necessarily what's good for the entirety of the district. Walsh Gallegos has been our legal counsel for quite some time. They have a long history with the board. They've gone above and beyond to support the entire district. I do not agree with changing horses in midstream, and I'm positive that there's personal reasons and agendas behind this, and I am not going to support this. I'm not going to vote for this. This has nothing to do with a law firm that you're requesting come on board. This has to do with how to do things in the right way. We had a vote on putting out a RFQ for new board council, excuse me, and that was voted down. So suddenly, because you didn't get your way, now here we are. Don't approve of it, disagree with it, think there's stuff going on in the background that is not appropriate.
Hold on, Ms. Lee, I'm going to give everybody else, is there anybody else who wants first time to speak before I go back to
I
you?
would prefer to hear Ms. Lee's rebuttal.
Okay. Oh, no.
And then I have something to say too, but I'll wait till after she, we're not in rebuttal mode. If it's relevant to what Ms.
Exactly.
Canoia just said, she should have a
Okay,
chance to
yeah, as
respond.
long as nobody else wanted to jump in before Ms. Lee, then nope, I will turn it over to Ms. Lee. Go ahead.
No, I just remember something that's also one of the reason I wanted to change, because it's clearly with all the experience that we had during like closed sessions, when I called, seek advice from TASB, there's a reason why the other districts have different legal counsel separate from district and the board. So that's how I come up with my, on this agenda.
All right, Mr. Macias?
Yes, I would, as much as I must agree that there's a little bit of politics at play here. Anytime councils change midstream and you've identified one, I think our general practice is to go for an RFQ if there is truly a desire to seek different legal counsel. The fact that one's been identified means that there's already a favorite. And so that's concerning. We certainly want to have a very unbiased, objective process of looking at legal counsel. Walsh has done a phenomenal job, and I dare put out the fact that because they're generalist in providing legal guidance, they do not cater to one side of the board. They give you the true interpretation of the law, not what the board majority wishes. Even though I sometimes disagree with what Walsh has stated, they're doing their job by informing the entire board. So if we're going to entertain this idea of going out, it should be through an RFQ process, not an interim. Walsh has done a phenomenal job and will continue to do that. Later on, we're going to be discussing some additional agenda items related to the other two that I'm wondering if the political motive was because they disagreed with your, meaning Ms. Poteet and Ms. Ryan's position on an issue regarding the investigation that we're having. So if there's pushback there and you're not satisfied with it, is this sort of, again, retaliation for moving people on? I do believe there's something there. So we need to do it right, above board. If you really want to look at other vendors for legal services, we should do an RFQ, leave our legal counsel in place until the RFQ process is completed, and then we can make a decision. At least at that point, we've done it right rather than just appearing to have favorites and playing politics up here.
I'll jump in real quick on this. I know when this was back on the agenda back in, I think it was October of last year, the major argument was it just wasn't a good time to transition legal counsel. So it did not pass at that time. But, now we're six months later, so, we've postponed it a good amount of time, so I was glad to see us back on the agenda. Also, there are obviously some legal situations that we cannot discuss in open session, and most of the board's aware of that, and it's been going on for a while, so I don't think we're trying to be non-responsive to anything, but there's certain things that we just can't discuss. Also, not sure if everybody's aware, there are new procurement practices related to professional services that started 1 September of last year, so RFQ for legal services is no longer a requirement. But I just want to thank some of the surrounding districts and a number of the board presidents from leadership TASB. When this came on the agenda in October, I queried across not just the region, but the state of who other people were using as their board counsel and obviously recommendations and how boards feel about their counsel, and they feel like their entire board is very well represented. Short Cibolo just switched over to JCA law. A number of the districts in our region have, and they are statewide. And a number of my colleagues are also using JCA, and everyone has just phenomenal things to say about them as a law firm, and a lot of people have moved away from Walsh Gallegos over to other law firms for their board counsel. So this would be in line with what I'm seeing kind of across the state, and this is a very well-recommended firm from other board presidents and their boards. So I guess that's what I have to say on that. Let me clear this out then for any other first turns, otherwise I'm going to, hold on. Ooh, I pushed the wrong button. Proceed. Okay, open it up. Anybody has rebuttal then? Go ahead, Laura.
So I would be in favor of an RFQ so that we can get a wide variety of choice. I would also say that if it's effective immediately, would this new council then step in and be who we would turn to for discussion in closed session on two issues that were actually being overseen by Walsh Gallegos? So I would want to allow the legal counsel that we've had in place continue through the discussion of the items that they've been overseeing to this point, because we'd be switching it like immediately, then they're suddenly stepping in at a moment's notice to things that we've been overseen by a different legal service. So that would be a concern I would have.
Any other rebuttals? Ms. Canoia?
I agree. Just because an RFP is not required doesn't mean it's not the best practice. Again, in my view, this is personal. The personal agendas of board majority are coming into play here. They disagree with advice that's given because it doesn't meet what they want to do. This is inappropriate. It's an abuse of authority again, and I do not agree with it at all.
Any other rebuttals?
Well, back to my question. So we've been under Walsh Gallegos for these.
Correct. That's a law firm. By the way, those were not being handled by our board counsel or the San Antonio office. So I think that answers the question. It was already being handled by an outside person, so.
With Walsh, right?
Yes.
Correct, correct. Not our current board counsel.
Right. So I'm just
Which is the
asking if
San
we can,
Antonio office.
for a
Okay.
discussion of these items in closed, if we can still refer to the counsel that we were under when we were dealing with these,
I know, I
rather
would
than
not
switching.
prefer that, but then I guess you can vote no if you don't want the motion, I guess. So,
Or make an amendment.
yes. Let's keep the meeting moving. So what, are you making a motion to amend, or do we have any other rebuttal?
Well, I'll wait for other rebuttals.
I'd like to go into closed session to talk about legal counsel. And the reason why is because there's some things that I do want to relay regarding your selection for Juan Cruz that I think is better discussed in closed session than in open. So this discussion can continue, and it's about legal counsel. So I'd like to go into closed session to discuss this.
I believe that would only be if we were getting legal advice on how to choose a legal counsel, but since we are not getting legal advice, that would not be allowed, so.
Okay, that's fine. It's my attempt to at least not have to bring things up that are unpleasant, but since that's not something you'll honor.
Okay, we can take a
what-
vote on it, sir.
No,
Do you want a motion to go to
I'm
closed session?
going to,
I'm
oh,
happy.
well, if you want to, I
No,
think
I'm
it's
asking what
best.
you want. I'm not going to
I
deny
would
you
like to
something
go
if
to
you'd like the board
closed
to vote.
session so that we can talk about this particular item it's legal. So it's all legal related. It's all law related. So I think we have the parameter to do so. So I'd like
Is
to
there a
move into
motion on
closed
the
session. I move we go into closed session to discuss this item.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second? Do we
Okay,
usually?
motion by Mr. Macias, second by Ms. Stanford. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote on whether to go into closed session or just return to the motion and vote. No discussion? All right, you can vote on whether or not we're going to go to closed session. Okay, motion does not pass 3-4. All right, so now.
Well, I'm going to continue then with
Okay.
my rebuttal. I still probably have a minute or two.
You have 2.5 minutes, sir.
So bottom line is that I really would request that we go into an RFQ process. Some of the things that you can find on JCA when you do an online search is some issues with double dipping, and this was an allegation made in 2020 and also settled in 2023. Additionally, there was another press release of a conference where Juan Cruz was a presenter, and he would refer to community members who have complaints as cavers, complaining against absolutely everything type of thing. And the strategy by JCA was to remove individuals from board meetings. And so in my time, I've been to 2 meetings in which I've seen JCA exercise removal, one being Suzanne Canoyer, and another being at Edgewood ISD when a citizen was removed for speaking too long and citizens to be heard. In fact, I think they even booked her. So these are all legal advice by JCA that give me some serious pause about their ability to keep us out of the limelight and in trouble. And so Walsh has always maintained, even though legally we might have the ability to remove someone, they never recommend that we move anyone because it sets off other potential liabilities. And that's sound legal advice. So by bringing this law firm, the other concern I have is that I don't know what the etiquette is. I know Mr. Resendez personally, and I know he's familiar with Walsh's processes. I don't know if they're going to be followed because we still have an opportunity to have legal counsel. I would hate to call Mr. Resendez if he was my legal counsel and I need advice or some input and he refuses to talk to me because the board president has now said that we have to talk to her or Dr. Jacklish before we go forward, which has not been a practice that we've done since 2010 when I was elected. We've all had access to our legal counsel. So those concerns without knowledge of knowing how they would be handled concern me. And that's why, again, we should go through an RFQ process and not look like we're playing favorites or playing politics. Because I assure you, I agree, there's politics at play here, and it does not need to be here.
I'll jump in just to reply to those 2 things. First of all, any legal advice about removal of citizens or board members, I received no legal advice from JCA because they were not our board counsel. That is 100% from Walsh Gallegos, and the board is in receipt of that memo from Walsh Gallegos. So nothing related to that has been related to JCA law at all, as they were not our counsel. 2, the access to legal counsel is very specifically in the retainer with Walsh Gallegos, our good governance handbook, and our board policy. So there is nothing, no matter who the law firm is, those policies govern how we contact legal counsel and who encumbers fees to this district. That is not tied to a specific law firm. Those procedures have to be followed because that's what the board agreed to in their good governance handbook, and that's what the board passed as the board policy on access to legal counsel. That's not anything to do with the president or anything to do with JCA or Walsh. That's simply what our policy is, regardless of who is there. So,
Have you read the policy?
yes, sir, I have.
What does it say?
It says you must go through the
It
superintendent.
says you
Okay.
should.
Okay.
You
Shall.
should, not have to. It's not
Shall.
mandated. You should.
Correct. The
Which we
word
don't have to.
Sir, you do. The
I'm
word
just, no, we
shall-
don't.
Okay.
Should, by definition, means I could. I don't have to.
He had his full 3 minutes.
Okay, yes. As our attorneys have told us, the word shall means you must do that, so.
No, it does not. It says should, by the way, not shall.
Okay, the policy letter says shall. All right, any other discussion before we vote? Ms. Potteet, could you reread the motion one more time, because it's been a minute and it was long, and I want to make sure I didn't write it down.
I move that we designate JCA Law PLLC to serve as interim board counsel to handle all board legal matters, including but not limited to handling all board members' phone calls and attending board meetings and closed session, effective immediately, and further designate JCA Law PLLC to assist the administration with legal matters as determined by the administration as needed. And finally, move that Walsh Gallegos be designated as interim legal counsel for the administration to assist with legal matters as needed and determined by the interim superintendent.
Okay, thanks.
I move that we postpone the decision on, I made a motion to postpone. You repeated the motion. I'm now letting you repeat the motion. I'm postponing this action. I'm postponing this action, and we move that we postpone this action, and we put in someone that has not worked with the district at all. I'll just name one, Escamilla and Ponick,
Okay,
to
so
be our interim legal counsel.
We already started voting, sir.
We
Like,
did-
literally,
Well, you didn't give me a
Cancel
chance
it.
to respond.
Okay, I'm not going to cancel a valid vote.
I have a motion on the floor to postpone.
Okay,
And that takes precedence over anything else.
okay. Normally, not in the middle of voting, ma'am. You have to do your motions beforehand, but we will appease Mr.
You went straight to
Macias
voting
for
without
a-
giving him an opportunity.
Ma'am, everyone had their 5 minutes and 3 minutes, ma'am.
And then you restated the motion, and he wanted to amend it.
I
Okay.
wanted, yes, so my motion is to postpone to identify a
Russ,
law
if we
firm.
could just reset, we're just going to make them happy. We're trying to do good governance here, but in the future.
You are not.
Ma'am, shouting out
Just
and
go ahead,
disrupting
Ms.
a meeting
Ryan.
is unprofessional, ma'am.
Ms. Ryan, go
If-
ahead.
I'm asking in the future, board members, if you have motions to amend or things like that, per good governance and parliamentary procedures, if you could please make those motions before we proceed to vote, because we really shouldn't be canceling the vote in the middle of people voting, okay? We're going to let it go this time, but I'm just asking in the future if we can do this properly, okay? That's all.
I
I'm
was being
asking. Thank
respectful
you.
to
I
Ms.
appreciate
Potteet's
it.
motion and did not want to interrupt her while she read it.
Correct,
And
and
as
that's
soon as she
why
made it, you threw it out
I
there.
paused and then
That-
proceeded.
I was
So,
postponing.
but go ahead, sir, and make your motion.
So I postponed this move. I move that we postpone this action and appoint Escamilla and Ponick as interim. We don't have a relationship with them. We don't know them. They're neutral, and that way we can go through an RFQ process to identify a vendor at a later time. I'm telling you, it'll look a lot better than what we're doing. Anyway,
Second.
That's my motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Macias and a second by Ms. Canoyer, a motion to postpone and appoint interim as Escamilla and Ponick. Did I say that generally correct? Okay, all right, sorry, I was trying to write down what you had said. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. The reason why I picked them, I don't know them, but bottom line is if we're going to go forward and give the impression that we don't have favorites, the one is to identify somebody we're not working with. So that would be the best interim if you are dedicated to finding someone. And I recognize that if the board's not satisfied with Walsh, then we may not want to stay with them in the interim, although I think we should. But at least I'm open to having someone independent come in to work with us in the interim until we can kind of work out what we're looking for in legal services. And earlier, Ms. Ryan did say that we don't have to follow the procurement process. She's correct, but we tried to be as fair in our identification of vendors. We still use the RFQ process, and I believe in that process. And I think Ms. Ryan has also said in the past she believes in that process, so we're not totally apart on that idea. But it just looks better. The optics, if there is politics, then this is a better way to go. If there isn't, what does it hurt to go through a process that identifies our next legal counsel?
Any other discussion? I don't see any buttons, so, all right, we will proceed to vote on the postponement. I'm sorry, we're going to vote on postponing, assigning counsel, and make Escamilla Ponick the interim board counsel. Is that correct, Mr. Macias? Okay, just making sure that was the gist of what the motion was. So, all right, now you can go ahead and vote. Okay, motion does not pass, 3-4. Now we are back to the original motion. Does anyone need it read again? Everybody's good on what they're voting on? Oops, sorry. All right, now we'll proceed to vote on the original motion. Ms. Canoyer, one more time. There we go. Okay, motion passes 4-3. All right, now the board will now adjourn into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meeting Act. pursuant to Texas.
Ms. Ryan, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just like you said, get you before you read the whole thing. I'd like to just have some general discussion why this item was postponed related to your agenda item. That's not a closed session item, so I'm hoping you can give some enlightenment as to what happened there.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. What is-
The investigation into your investigation was paused by you and Ms. Poteet.
Correct, sir. That'll be discussed in closed session.
And so I was hoping maybe for the sake of transparency, you'd like to discuss why you postponed it.
We will go. Oh, I didn't postpone anything.
I did. And we'll discuss that
And
in
we'll
closed
discuss
session.
that
You
in closed
discussed it
session.
well.
That way
You know
we have
what?
our attorney present.
There is a March 3rd communication, an email in which
All right, sir, we
you're
can't
making.
debate something that's, so,
Sir-
sir, let's, just parliamentary procedure. We cannot have a debate of something unless we are on a specific agenda item discussing that. So since we're not on
The
an agenda
closed session
item, we
items are
can't
related,
discussion.
to the investigations.
Okay,
And
then
this is related to the
I guess you
investigation.
could make, I'll help you out here. If you want to make a motion to conduct 4A and 4B in open session, you can make that motion.
I just want an answer to why
Sir,
the item was pushed
we can't debate
back.
or discuss an item unless we are on the agenda. So your
The agenda
option
item
would
is
be-
related to you.
Correct,
It's your
sir.
investigation.
Mr. Macias,
I've
we put
explained
this on the agenda
parliamentary.
to speak about it in closed session, and all of your questions will be answered in closed session.
Yeah.
But-
So unless
So-
you make a motion to have these agenda items in open, then we are not parliamentary, not allowed to discuss them here, sir.
I can appreciate consensus, but I'm not going to make a motion. It's literally your decision. Do you want to have this discussion out here or not? Because I want the community to know you want to be transparent or not. You don't want to be transparent, you just want to go to
Mr.
closed
Macias,
session?
no.
Sir, we can't do
The board
attorney-client-
president can say,
Okay.
let's discuss,
Sir.
and that's the only question I want an answer to.
Okay, sir, we
That's all.
cannot have attorney consultation in open session.
The question is, why did you stop the investigation? That's not attorney
Sir, do you have a
consultation.
motion on the table? Because otherwise I do have to go into closed session. That's what the rules
I
say,
just
and I have to.
want you
follow
to
the rules.
answer the question.
Sir.
Do I, I'll do this. I move that Monica Ryan answer the question why she stopped the investigation. How does that sound?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. I'll discuss why it's important that you should
Okay.
answer the question. Absolutely.
Mr. Macias, we don't even have so which agenda item are you on?
It's the one
for your
related to
motion?
your
Yes,
investigation.
I'm sorry, hold on. I don't think we can have a motion on a non-agenda item, right, sir?
So Madam Chair, yeah, we're, the only motion, you're about to go into closed session. You want to make a motion to go into close? Or a motion not to go into close?
Close, okay, that's what I thought.
would be proper at this point.
Because we can't have any discussion or
We're
motions
not-
unless
I
we're
made
on
a
an
motion.
agenda.
That's an improper motion.
Okay, that's what I
The
thought.
board should proceed with
Yes.
deciding whether to go into
Okay.
open
Mr.
session or closed
Resendez,
session.
tell me why it's improper.
Because we're not
We're
on,
not on an agenda item.
item 4A or 4B.
But 4A is about the investigation of Monica Ryan,
And that's in
right?
closed session, sir.
So it's
unless
related.
you make a motion for open.
And let me follow up also, and 5A and 5B are in open session. So we're going to actually come back and talk about items 5A, 5B, which are about the investigation.
Are you going to answer that question in public?
It's up to her. It's up to her. I recommend
Yeah,
you.
we just
you-
need to go
you
have the
decide-
discussion,
Decide
and
to
we'll
go
see
into
how the
closed session or
discussion
not.
goes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you do decide to go into open session, I will not be giving any advice because
Correct.
we can't.
No,
Yeah.
yes, that I know.
Yeah.
That I know.
So I hope that helps.
I'll withdraw the motion.
All right.
But we will come back into open to talk about, because they're on
Correct.
open session after close.
Yes. Okay, so the board will now adjourn into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Section 551.074 and 551.071, consultation with attorney and discussion regarding the status and handling of employee complaints against board member Monica Ryan, and pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074 and 551.071, consultation with attorney and discussion regarding status and handling of employee complaints against board member Jose A. Macias. The time is now 6:05, and we are in closed session. All right. All right, the board will now reconvene in open session. I lost my phone, so what time is it? 8:04. Okay, the time is now 8:04 PM. No final action, decision, or vote was taken while the board was in closed session. All right, we will proceed with the open agenda. So agenda item 5A, discussion and possible action regarding handling of employee complaints against board member Monica Ryan. Do I have a motion?
I
on
move that Walsh Gallegos continue the investigation of allegations of possible abuse of power by Monica Ryan when requesting classes for her children.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Canoyer, a second by Mr. Macias. Any discussion?
I'm asking for this. I had major concerns that Ms. Poteet paused this investigation without authority of the entire board after a 7-0 vote into this, and the claims that were being investigated were discussed in the closed session prior to coming out and making the initial motion that was approved 7-0. This investigation needs to continue. The attorney appointed by Walsh Gallegos is someone who is unfamiliar with the district and has had no dealings with Judson ISD and would be considered an impartial party.
Additional discussion? Go ahead, Ms. Stanford.
Yep, I did call TASB legal on the process that occurred, and they said that it was highly inappropriate that an action that the board had approved would be stopped mid-process by one or two board members getting involved deeply in the process. That should have waited. Today would have been the appropriate day to bring up any questions or concerns about the motion that had been approved on the 14th of February. So that's my concern, is that not that we're here today considering changing something, but that it was changed in the middle of the process by just one or two people making a decision that this is not going the right way, so we're going to pause it. They don't have the authority to do that. Ahead, that takes away our votes, that our vote as board members representing the community just got canceled by that action. Our vote just got erased. It was as if it didn't even happen. And if we as a board allow that to stand, it will happen again. And we don't want that to happen. That's not the appropriate process for any board to operate under anywhere. And TASB made that clear. There's no board that would accept that as a normal action. So this board has to consider that they're going to be supporting that if they don't stand against that action that was taken unlawfully, inappropriately.
Oh, can I jump in first, only because I started some of this? So Ms. Stanford's characterization of what occurred is completely false. So what happened was, and this kind of answers Mr. Macias's question before the break, was while putting together agendas to wrap up all of these investigations, it was discovered that Walsh Gallegos went way outside the scope that this board had approved. There were some very specific things that were supposed to be looked into. I seconded the motion, I voted for it, right? To look into very specific things. And it was discovered that Walsh Gallegos was going to go well outside that scope. And so they don't have the authorization to go outside of the scope of what we approved unless we bring it back to the board. So that's what needed to happen. There was no stopping of an investigation. There was just not an approval to go outside the scope because we can't encumber Judson money. We've already spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on this. And if there was going to be another $50,000 of investigation because they were going to expand the scope into a fishing expedition, that needed to be approved by this board, right? Because that's a lot of money away from our kids. That's a lot of money. That's science camp for 5 different elementary schools, right? So that's what the board needed to have a discussion before that scope got expanded. And I guess we're just glad that we found out Walsh Gallegos was expanding it without board approval. And then that's why this kind of came back. So did you have something else, Mrs. Poteet?
All I was going to say is if it was truly illegal, then I doubt that Walsh Gallegos would have allowed the pause. If they had the ability to continue, then they would have continued. If they believed that it was illegal, they would have essentially told me no. And I did ask for them to pause this investigation simply because we are in a deficit. I cannot I can't approve our attorneys going forward and spending, I have no idea how much money, because I could not get a clear answer from anyone at Walsh Gallegos as to how much has even been spent thus far. When I asked how long the investigation would take, it was 3 to 4 weeks, possibly longer, but she really could not tell me how long this was going to take. And I cannot, in good conscience, allow an attorney continue to bill at $360 an hour when I have absolutely no idea how long this is going to take, because they've broadened the scope. There was some confusion, and obviously we're all going to agree to disagree, because I know that you don't agree with me, and I don't agree with what I thought the scope was versus what you thought the scope was. But it's just not financially responsible to allow attorneys to bill as much as they want in an effort to find something on any board member. It just seemed irresponsible.
Any other discussion before we vote on this motion?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Kennard.
Ms. Ryan is completely mischaracterizing. The scope was never expanded. The information provided to the investigating attorney was only about whether she abused her board position to demand special treatment for her children. That is all the information that was provided. The investigator only spoke to 3 people before Ms. Poteet took it upon herself to pause the investigation and tell the law firm that they would not be paid if they continued. Of course they stopped. Now, did Ms. Poteet have authority to do that, to say that they wouldn't get paid? Absolutely not. This is a rogue board leadership taking advantage of the 4 in the majority, the 3 people who were recently elected who are supporting Ms. Ryan's illegal, inappropriate, unethical behavior on this board. There was no reason to stop this, and there is no reason why it should not continue. If Ms. Ryan has nothing to worry about, as she claims, then the investigation should continue, and I will be the first person to say that she was proven wrong, that I was proven wrong, that she was proven correct, that she did not abuse her authority. But we cannot have board members out there saying things to get privilege for their students, for their children. That is inappropriate. It's alleged it happened. I want to know if it did or did not.
Mr. Macias.
This is my first discussion. So, back in the good old days, 7-0 meant 7-0, pretty much how it went. Obviously, we're in a different time here in Judson when a 7-0 board vote can be altered and without bringing it back to the board to modify. So whenever we empower 2 board members to change action of a 7-0 board, you should be concerned as a community. I had a friend of mine who used to serve on this board who told me once that she knew there was wrongdoing and she called it out and then she voted with it. And so when the FBI spoke with her, they asked her, why did you vote with it? And she said, well, it was obvious it was going to pass. Well, today it's obvious that there's going to be modification with this particular investigation into Monica Ryan. But to use Ms. Poteet's word, I can't stand in good conscience and not say anything. Wrong is wrong. This should never have been paused, stopped, altered. I'm glad that my colleagues put on record that they did have some interaction with our law firm, because Ms. Ryan's direct interference with the investigation shows a conflict of interest that should never have happened. Ms. Poteet, by proxy, with additional conflict of interest, they continued asking for the names of the people who complained. It's in the emails that we just received today. I did receive them an hour prior to this meeting, so I have not reviewed all 179 pages. But in the email, there's also a direct quote from Ms. Ryan March 3rd, stating that, to be very clear,
Hold
the
on, sir,
board,
just so you're clear, we can't do attorney-client privilege disclosure out in open session.
to be
Just-
clear, the board has not approved the expenditure of Judson ISD funds to investigate anything that does not clearly fall within 2 explicit complaints. So when we spoke and took action, there was no direction on how many complaints we were talking about. We left it open-ended. I helped write the agenda item. It was an open-ended agenda item. So if we wanted to be specific, we would have been. We were not. So again, this is wrong. My colleagues are going to vote in the majority, I assume, to modify it. But how we got here is, again, not right. And it extremely is concerning. We're deeply divided on this issue. That's okay. To be very candid, I didn't expect this item to pass in the first place. But when Ms. Ryan was over there bopping her hair, being arrogant about her voting yes, she should have asked questions. What are we going to do? What's the scope going to look like? She didn't. And certainly, I am always going to advocate that we be transparent with our community about what we're doing. I've been extremely transparent. As a matter of fact, my investigations are all about my social media post, because I've decided this type of activity, we need to tell the community what's happening. And so I've made it very clear that I will continue to communicate all the shortcomings that this board has had. And one other thing, just so that I'm aware, I know the level of dissatisfaction that we're hearing in the community. This is embarrassing. I had some colleagues call me the other day from other school districts and say, you know, you guys were a punchline in our training. And he said, Judson is a laughingstock right now. They're not playing by the rules. They're politically motivated and charged. We're divisive without any true effort to build consensus. And the punchline is, at least you're not Judson ISD. As someone who's served on this district as long as I've had, that hurts, because I'm very proud of our employees and our district. I know of all the successful, wonderful things that we have produced, and to be going through this very unprecedented time is just embarrassing. So I will say in my last 53 seconds, Ms. Poteet, I do like seeing the timer, thank you. In my last minute under, that I would implore that my colleagues continue with the investigation. If Ms. Ryan has done nothing inappropriate, it's okay. And don't fall for the we're losing so much money heart thing. They've expensed every possible dollar to terminate Dr. Fields without any thought process on how we could save money in the process. So it's a false, hollow argument. But anyway, I implore that we move forward with Walsh. We finish the investigation, give them 2 to 3 weeks to conclude it, and then be done with it. That would be my recommendation.
Ms. Lee.
I just want to comment, I guess, because we would have maybe saved all of this if all the simple questions that we had for supposed to be the legal team for the whole board, not just an interest of any particular board. If those questions were answered, we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't really pause, the investigation in the first place. And to say that we are demanding those employees or allegations, no. Because we were just really asking, because apparently on the closed session, my colleague, we disagree that how we recall on specific allegation, even I actually recommend, to vote for it for an investigation, just let it be. But then to have this unlimited, employees coming up with everything, allegations, well, I don't agree on that because from my understanding on the closed session, there's just one scope. That's the thing. So it became like, this right now. So we can agree to disagree, but that's the thing. It's a simple question that our legal counsel is supposed to answer these questions, but I don't know why they're not really answering it. directly to us so that we could have some information about this investigation. But yeah, that's a big question right now, and I just want to like put that in record.
All right, I don't see any other buttons, so we'll vote on the motion to continue the investigation into Monica Ryan with Walsh Gallegos. That is the
And
motion
let me
on the table.
repeat the motion because it
Please
did
do.
limit that scope to what we discussed.
Okay, go ahead and repeat
I
your motion.
move that
ma'am.
Walsh Gallegos continue the investigation of allegations of possible abuse of power by Monica Ryan when requesting classes for her children. So that gives you the scope that we discussed.
All right, that was the motion. So we will proceed to vote. Hold on, let me clear that out.
Who was the second?
Mr. Macias was the second, right? You had seconded that? Yes, Mr. Macias had been the second. All right, proceed to vote. Okay, motion passes 4-3. All right, agenda item 5B, discussion and possible action regarding the handling of employee complaints against board member Jose Macias. Do I have a motion on that?
I move that Tony Resendez of JCA Law PLLC, investigate the employee complaints against board member Jose Macias.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Potteet, second by Ms. Lee. Any discussion? Go ahead, Ms. Stanford.
I just want to clarify, are we sure where Walsh Gallegos is on that investigation right now? Do
Ma'am,
we
that
know?
would be a legal consultation we just talked about that in closed session, so we can't talk about that, shouldn't be talking about that out here in open, and it's all on the emails that you also got from Dr.
Which
Jackledge.
emails?
Dr. Jackledge
Oh,
has
the
sent
ones
all
that
the
came at
attorney
the end of the
emails.
day.
Correct,
Oh.
correct. Any other discussion or questions?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Macias.
So I'll be abstaining from this vote. It's something that I think if we're involved in the investigation, it might be best to abstain. My vote last time was just, I didn't want to spend the money. But when you see my abstention, it's involving me. So it's probably best that I practice everything and keep my distance on this one. So just letting you guys know.
All right,
I have one question.
go ahead.
Mr. Macias, do you have any objection with this change?
No, I'm just like everyone else. Let's just get through it.
Okay.
All right, Mrs. Potteet, can you reread your motion one more time?
I move that Tony Resendez of JCA Law PLLC investigate the employee complaints against board member Jose Macias.
Okay, we have the motion by Ms. Potteet, seconded by Ms. Lee. Proceed to vote. Okay, motion passes 6-0 with one abstention from Mr. Macias. All right, there being no further business, this meeting is now adjourned. Point of privilege, or what do you need?
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Point of privilege.
Okay, quickly, yes.
So in regards to Ms. Ryan's investigation, I just wanted to say something really quick. I had this essentially speech written both ways. Basically, when this concern was first raised, I did support moving forward because allegations of abuse of authority or retaliation should always be taken incredibly seriously. However, I do want to acknowledge that I still have concerns about how this process has unfolded. We're being held to different standards. Certain employees are granted the privilege of privacy while others are forced out in the open. At this point, we still don't have clearly defined allegations. And the ones that Ms. Knoyer just spoke about in these, it shouldn't take 3 weeks to investigate. It's a simple matter of calling your counselors and your HR directors and verifying. So I don't understand why we have to go forward and spend another $10, $20, $30, $40, or $50,000, because I have no idea on this complaint. It makes no sense. That said, I'll respect the decision of the board to continue going forward, because that is what we are supposed to do, regardless of how we feel how this went. My focus now is just to make sure that from this point, the investigation is clearly scoped, and if it is just these 2 complaints, then hopefully this can get wrapped up within the next few days. Now, I know that when we have meetings like this or disagreements like this on the dais, it starts to overshadow everything that this amazing interim superintendent is doing right now. If you walk onto any single campus right now, you can feel a difference. If you walk into a meeting with the cabinet, and I know not everybody has that privilege, you can feel the difference. You can sense a change in this district. And when we have meetings like this, it crowds out everything that we are doing to move this district forward. And I just need everybody to know that we are on the right path. We are moving forward. We are working hard. Our superintendent is working incredibly hard. I know that our cabinet members are completely dedicated to the budget process, to the transition process in regards to school closures. They are all committed and willing to work all night if required. Until June, they're here for the long haul. So I just want to recognize those people that are out there right now struggling to get this work done because it is a monumental amount of work. And I want to say thank you to those people. I want to say thank you to Dr. Jacklich for being here because, again, just the feeling in our schools, the feelings with our principals, with our cabinet, there is so much hope right now. And I hate that we are clouding that and we are shadowing that with all of these investigations. It's ridiculous. And hopefully in the future, we can have a straightforward complaint process because this has been a difficult time frame. So again, I appreciate you, Dr. Jacklich. I appreciate everything you're doing. And if the cabinet is listening right now, I appreciate all the work and the hours that you guys are dedicating. And as always, I always appreciate every single person in that school because I know you guys are all busting yourselves trying to get these things done, trying to get the job done. So just thank you to all the employees out there.
Point of privilege.
Hold on, I think Mr. Macias.
Yeah, I had,
All right.
I hit
Sorry.
the
You did it
button.
the right
I
way.
didn't
That was
realize.
a little long-winded, Mrs. Poteet. If we could all wrap it up really shortly, and let's make sure we're not debating any board business, but if you have a
Well,
quick
you
point of
know,
privilege, please do. I'm
Clearly,
sorry,
I didn't
should've-
realize we were going to have some overtime, so here we are, overtime. I just want to be clear that, you know, when we had this discussion, we could have capped it. I mean, the smart thing is if they're worried about $30,000 in expenses, we could have capped it at 15. Come back and talk to us if you hit 15. We don't know what the cost is. I think it's not going to be as much as they're saying. It's fear-mongering. But the bottom line is the process needs to play out, and I think that's important. And I'm going to obviously be wrong. I think Ms. Jones likes to make me look like I was wrong because it passed when I thought it was not going to. So thank you, Ms. Jones, for saying Macias was wrong. So I was. But the bottom line is what we just did shows promise. There's consensus. Ms. Kanoya restructured the agenda item to fit some of the need. That's the working together that we need to do. So if there was a cost issue, Ms. Poteet should have said, I can support it if we don't go over X amount of dollars. That's how you're supposed to work together. So again, I just want to say, I am not going to pretend all is well. People ask me, is it well? No, it's not well. But I'm going to still move forward for my community. And Dr. Jacklich has been working with me to ensure that we meet the needs of District 4. There's still more that we need to communicate, but that's all that we can do. But never forget what happened. And January 10th was a pivotal time. And we can't forget what occurred. So I remain hopeful and optimistic, but I'm not going to forget.
Ms. Stanford, go ahead.
I want to thank the board because we actually went through a contentious time and we handled it quite well, I think, in closed session. We worked it through, we came out, we've discussed, and we're moving forward. And to me, that's a positive thing, that we're able to handle some of that back and forth. I think we handled it quite well in closed. There were some, you know, difficult times, but we worked through it and we came back here and we voted because we want peace too. We don't want a lot of contention. We don't want ongoing contention. We want to focus on the students, number one. So I'm actually encouraged that we're going to move forward, that we're going to be expeditious with what we have to handle, and that we're going to be able to maintain a very professional way of dealing with each other. So I thank the board.
Awesome. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned at, who's got a clock? Sorry,
It is 8:29.
8:29 PM. Thank you.